So this video has the purpose of documenting my, as of today, best practices for neck turning cases, and in particular 308 cases. Here we go. Here's a beautiful 308. This happens to be a Lapua 308. My neck turning tool is the PMA. And I've already got this adjusted. This one just happens to be adjusted for 12.3 thousandths of an inch neck wall, and it cuts right up on just onto the shoulder. Everything's adjusted about it. Now I like to do my neck turning not by hand, not by spinning my case by hand on top of the tool or rotating the tool on top of a fixed case, but using Tun, 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 tun. Always got to go musical. My beautiful, magnificently restored South Bend lathe. Here it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you in the upcoming remainder of this video how I use the PMA tool and the lathe to neck turn 308 cases. So the first thing about turning cases in the lathe is that the case has a tapered wall. You just can't chuck that up and have it, expect it to run true on center in a lathe because, three-jaw chuck just doesn't have tapered chuck jaws. And the collets aren't tapered either. They're for cylindrical stock. So what I built for myself is a sleeve. Here's the sleeve for the 308. It's made from, I forget which kind of steel it's made from. I made it on the lathe, of course. It's 1/2 inch diameter stock. I don't know if you can see it fairly well. Anyway, one side is much thicker in diameter than the other. The ID of this tube is tapered to match the case. The OD is cylindrical, right at 1/2 inch. And it's made so that it has a slot on the side so it can be spring-loaded and clamped. And you just can slide this right down over the case onto the shoulder like that. And now I have, if you like, this is, just think of this as some magnificent new case with cylindrical walls. And because of the slot on this, it's spring-loaded, and the collet in the lathe can clamp this and clamp it right on center. So let's go over to the lathe and do that. So you come over here. I have a 1/2 inch collet in the lathe. Just pop it in there. I pop in there pretty high. Here's the drawbar back here. Tighten the drawbar. And it's in there. Okay, I have the lathe set up to do 240 RPM. That seems to work very well for me. Not too fast, not too slow, just right. So let's just turn the lathe on. And let's see if this is running at all true. Here we go. And if you look at that, and you look at, I can put my fingernail near that. See, there's just not a lot of wobble in that. That's what we want to have. Okay, so let's look at the rest of the lathe setup. We have the Aloris tool post here, but nothing's on it. Why is this tool post here, and why is it positioned where it is? The reason is we're going to use this tool post as a tool to prevent the PMA tool from rotating. So once we get the PMA tool in here, and you'll see that later on, the PMA tool is going to be trying to move counterclockwise as the lathe is spinning, as the tool engages the case over here, and it's going to press up against one edge of this, against the top edge of this guy. Right? So we don't have to hold the PMA from spinning by hand. The tool post is going to prevent it. What else do we have? We have a dead center in the tailstock All right, and I'm going to show you how I use that to hold everything on center. Let's take a closer look at the PMA tool. One of the things about this PMA tool that just happens to be convenient is the center of these three, 1, 2, 3, of these three holes is beveled or chamfered on the inside. I don't know if you can see the bevel. Maybe you can. Yeah, there it is. Right. And it is coaxial with the post out here, the mandrel. Now, what's really cool about that is that gives us a place to push on the tool in the back where we know we're on center with the mandrel, or very close to being on center with the mandrel. And guess what? That's what we're going to do with the center and the tailstock. We're going to use this guy to push the tool forward onto the case. There's a case. So let's get ready to neck turn this case here. Over here I have a Q-tip, and this end of the Q-tip that you see there is soaked in the PMA lubricating mandrel lube. That's what they call it. And so what I'm going to do first is action shot. We'll turn the lathe on, get that thing spinning, and then we're going to come over here and put this guy into the mouth of the case, move it back and forth to make sure that we have that inner neck wall lubricated. Done. I'll put it down. Okay, so the lathe is spinning. Here's the PMA tool. The first thing I do is I put the tool between the spinning case and the dead center and get the hole in the back of the PMA case pushed onto the dead center. And then I use the wheel and the tailstock to drive the dead center forward and get the mandrel to go inside the mouth of the case. And now it's just getting to the point where it's filling the mouth. And there we go. So now we just move the mandrel further into the case. It hasn't started cutting yet. And you'll see a little bit of wobble here on the PMA tool, and that's because the neck of the case is not completely concentric with the body of the case. And so it's a little eccentric, and that's causing the tool to wobble. That's okay. Notice how the tool post of the lathe is keeping the PMA tool from spinning. So I don't have to do that. With my left hand, I'm just gently pressing back on the PMA tool to keep it pressed up against the dead center of the tailstock. So I'm going to move the tailstock forward a little bit, and if you watch the case, the end of the case, pretty soon you'll see we're going to be cutting. There it is, we started cutting. Okay, now to give you an idea about how fast we're cutting, I'm going to say go. And then I'll tell you when we've gone about 50 thousandths of an inch forward, which is right now there's 50 thousandths. I don't know if you can see the metal coming off of the case. And now we're at 100 thousandths forward. And we'll keep on going. And what we're going to do is we go until we can feel the additional pressure with the wheel and tailstock, because the mouth of the case is up against the step on the mandrel and it won't go any further, so we've hit the end. But you don't want to push on that very hard, so you want to feel for when you get to the end and don't go any further. Don't try to go further. And also you can, there it is, we've hit the end. Okay, now we back it out. Back out a little faster than we come in, so I do 0, 50 thousandths, 100 thousandths, 150 thousandths. Okay, we're off. Now we can go fast. So we back it out. So the last thing we need to do is to extract the case from the sleeve that holds it. And it's really hard to do by hand. So I just cut myself on the lathe this piece of steel. You can see it. It's got a hollow in there. The base of the case fits into the hollow, but the edge of the sleeve engages this tool. And you just press down. Voila, done.